Imagine um mundo onde você possa contar com gente que se dedica a fazer o seu mundo melhor. Gente que está presente quando você precisa de apoio, de confiança, de motivos para acreditar. Imagine contar com pessoas que te estendem a mão diante de seus maiores desafios e que se alegram com cada uma de suas conquistas. Pessoas que te compreendem, porque compartilham com você os mesmos ideais e a mesma missão. Pessoas que pensam além, por você, e que estão sempre atentas aos novos ventos, às mudanças inevitáveis, às estações que se sucedem, os engenhos do tempo. Pessoas que reduzem suas dúvidas e multiplicam suas conquistas. Pessoas que sabem que a vida não é só o vai ou o vem, mas o vai e vem que nos leva para o lá dos nossos planos e para o cá da nossa realidade. Imagine contar com pessoas que te ajudam a transformar o não em sim, as incertezas em possibilidades, os desafios em novos caminhos. Pessoas que caminham ao seu lado, mesmo quando o mundo impõe novas e inesperadas barreiras. Essa gente parceira, flexível e humana, atende por um nome: FTD Educação.
Conte com a gente.
Conte com a gente.
Conte com a gente.
Conte com a gente.
Conte com a gente sempre.
Hello, good morning, people. We are here for the international session on agricultural exact human and applied social science in our meeting here in PUCPR. And I would like to say hello to my colleague, Professor Maria José Ruiz, who is from the University of Valencia, and all the presenters of this morning. So everyone could be very, how can I say, friendly here. And we will start. We have 80 presentations, so we'll start with one of them. Just a minute, I find the system here. So we'll start with the presentation of Stancy Jansen about cooperation and in airline communication, who is a supervisor, Ivete Morozov, Professor Ivete Morozov. So Stacy Jansen, you are the first one, and you are very welcome for this morning. The word is with you. So.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope you can hear me nicely. So thank you very much for the selection. It's, again, a very big pleasure to present our work here. I'm going to start sharing the presentation. And okay, hopefully it's showing. All right, so to begin, as was said, the name of my project is Cooperation in Airline Communication. I'm Stacy, as was said, and this project was developed with Professor Ivete Morozov. Just to point out, originally this project was developed in Portuguese, but adapted to English. So here we go. So first off, I would like to talk about the theoretical basis we used for the project. Cooperation, after all, the title uses the term cooperation based on the theory cooperative principle by Grice, and he states that for effective communication, we need to consider previous knowledge between the participants in a given interaction and what the speaker is meaning to say. Therefore, in communication, we consider beyond what is being explicitly said what Grice calls inferences. And these inferences only occur by violating what Grice calls conversational maxims. And they are quantity, which is the informativity, like as in how much information you're giving in that interaction. So if there's too much or too little information or just enough for the participant to understand your inferences. Quality, which has to do with being truthful, being accurate with the information you are using in that interaction. Manner, which is clarity, being clear and avoiding what we know as ambiguity and being too vague. And relevance, as the maxim says itself, being relevant, giving relevant information in your interaction. Sorry, let me just go back here. Sorry about that. Let me just go back. So Grice divides the pragmatics theory in two perspectives, okay? So we have politeness theory by Brown-Levinson, and it has to do with social cultural behaviors in an interaction, okay? So based on the cooperative principle, we have the politeness theory. It has to do with social cultural behaviors. And based on these standard social behaviors in a given interaction, we make linguistic, we create linguistic strategies to communicate. And that includes how much distance we have with the participant in that communication. And and that being said, we create what is called positive or negative politeness. So if we are going according to these social cultural behaviors in this interaction, we are creating a positive politeness, which is face saving. Our public image is what Brown and Levinson call face saving. If we're not going according to these social cultural behaviors in a given interaction, we are actually not saving our public image. This was one of the theories, but the theory that we focused on the most in this, I'm sorry, I drew a blank here. In this project, we based our research on the relevance theory developed by Wilson and Sperber, and they base the effectiveness in an interaction on the cognitive tendency of people to maximize relevance, which means in any given interaction we have expectations, and these expectations are created by what they call stimulus, which is internal or external stimulus. So that can be memory, which is the internal stimulus, or external, like verbal or visual elements in this interaction. And we need to consider common knowledge in order to maximize relevance in this interaction. So the information has to be common knowledge and relevant, and therefore the processing effort of the participant, the listener, will have, there will be more relevance in what is being said. Okay, so, and if there is too much processing effort for the listener, then the information won't be very relevant. That being said, the objective of the research and the methodology is to make a linguistic analysis, and analyzing the maxims and a cooperative principle violation in the dialogue between a dialogue between Colombian flight crew and North American air traffic control tower from the Avianca flight 52, to see if they are going according to the maxims and the cooperative principle or not. Okay, And knowing that the airline communication has this previous knowledge, these previous shared knowledge, which is the language that is used and the specific phraseology. And if that's not being followed, there can be misunderstandings. And then this way, we got to a conclusion that these misunderstandings could have caused the plane crash. So, for example, I have a little bit of what we analyzed based on the dialogue that we took from literary and official documents. So knowing that the flight crew was Colombian and the co-pilot had more English proficiency, they were going through turbulent weather and waiting for traffic for over an hour until the American control tower would give them permission to land. Meanwhile, their fuel was reaching the minimum level. And that's a phraseology they should have used, but we noticed that that wasn't used in no given moment of that interaction. And the co-pilot simply assumed that they were being prioritized, which is also a phraseology, but was not used accordingly to the previous knowledge. Once they were finally cleared for landing, they had trouble finding the runway and, sorry about that, let me just go back. Okay, and once they were finally cleared to land, they couldn't find the runway, and they announced, the commander announced several times to the co-pilot that they had to tell the controllers that they were almost out of fuel, therefore in an emergency state, another phraseology. But the co-pilot did not use this phraseology, and he simply said, "We're running out of fuel," which causes ambiguity. Okay, and moments later, the control tower asks the flight crew if they have enough fuel to land, and the co-pilot again isn't relevant, and besides is untruthful by just saying, "Yes, I guess so, thank you very much," just saying that they think they have enough fuel, being that they were in an emergency state. So the commander requests priority. Again, that's not the truthful state, that's not truthful information for the actual state of the flight. So the commander was being irrelevant. And therefore, with all these misunderstandings, the aircraft collided, leaving many dead, including the entire flight crew. Therefore, our conclusions, our final considerations, were that the flight crew violated this communicative principle and the maxims for not being informative enough, not clear enough, irrelevant, and not truthful with the controllers from the control tower. And they had the previous knowledge of language, English language, and phraseology, but we hypothesize that the flight crew struggled to communicate because that can occur. People can have the relevant information, but keep it. And what could have caused this omission is the psychological conditions, such as tiredness for waiting in the air traffic for very long, and all the stress levels. Therefore, that was our research. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope I was able to show you how important effective communication is.
Thank you so much, Stacey. It was very, very interesting, your presentation, and I'm very terrified about this problem because I understood that it's dangerous for us who are in a plane when the people don't speak clearly, for instance, no? So I would like to ask to Maria José Ruiz if she has some question to Stacey. Just to start, we have 2 minutes only, so it's very quickly, but please, Maria.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for your presentation. This is an important subject. It's important to know to communicate well in all areas of everyday life. So only one question. how do you think the communication between cabin crew at aircraft and the control tower in the US could have been improved?
Well, in the research, they did say that the proficiency from the commander in the English language wasn't very good, and that could have caused this miscommunication, misunderstanding. And what could be improved in the airlines is more training in psychological conditions, because that could have stopped them from giving the information that they already had. They knew that they had to declare, oh, this is an emergency. And even the commander said, I didn't put all the information here, but the commander did say, did you tell them that we're in an emergency? And the co-pilot simply said, yes, I did, assuming that he did. So there were lots of stress levels. So perhaps I'm not very much into how the flight crew is prepared for flights, but probably there should be a better preparation psychologically, because of all the stress levels going through turbulent weather, so that and the waiting, and then not having enough fuel, being still in the air. So probably I would say that psychological preparation is also needed, besides verifying if the flight crew, such as the commander, especially the commander, has enough English proficiency.
Thank you. Very interesting. Thank you very much. It's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank
you,
you.
Stacy. It's very interesting. Just a curiosity. There is a communication codes for these kind of roles. Who is the responsible to create these roles of communication? Who is there is a international institution, or?
There is. I don't have the name exactly here. I failed to keep this information for the presentation, but there is, yes.
And there is
yes, a standard.
Standard. Okay.
Yes, there is an organization, a standard phraseology for airline communication. There is, such as minimum fuel, emergency, or even to ask priority. Priority is actually to ask normal aircrafts. They are the last one to be prioritized. The first ones to be prioritized are flights that have authorities or even the military army. So depending on the phraseology they use, that is the inference that they are making. Yeah, that they have, but they didn't have any authorities. They aren't from the military or the army. So they were the last ones to be prioritized. So that wasn't there is a phraseology, a standard phraseology for airline communication, but they weren't following it.
Perfect. Thank you, Stacy. Congratulations again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next one. Is Flora Melis de Oliveira, whose supervisor is Professor Janaína Braga Norte Pereira. The title of this presentation is Non-Persecution Agreement, AS, I don't know if it's correct, as NIA, Instrument of Negotiation Criminal Justice in Brazilian Criminal Procedures. So, Flora, could you explain us your research, please?
Sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay.
I think the theme was wrong where you read. I will read it again. The non-persecution agreement as an instrument of negotiated criminal justice in Brazilian criminal procedure. So I'm Flora. I did this research by the orientation of my professor Janaína Braga Norte. And let's do this. I hope everything is okay. Nice. Okay. So this research project seeks to understand the non-persecution agreement recently instituted in the Brazilian legislation through the Article 28A brought by the Pacote Anticrime, which was implemented in 2019, but the enforcement of the agreement started just in 2020. The non-persecution agreement implies an innovation in the Brazilian criminal law, which is already happening in other countries, such as the United States, which was the base of the Brazilian agreement version, also as in the German and Italian versions. Therefore, it is already possible to affirm that such innovation will be increasingly common and disseminated in the justice system, as well as the growth of consensual justice as a means of conflict resolution. To comprehend about the theme, it was also necessary to analyze the concept of consensual justice, based on the theory of communicative action by Jürgen Habermas. This theory, which also explains the concept of consensual justice, elucidates the best way to obtain knowledge or come to a consensus is by communication, not by the instrumental knowledge. And Habermas said that once he knew when the human being was cooperating with each other, it was possible to maintain an ambient where both parties or more are okay with the situation. Once comprehended the innovation brought by the non-persecution agreement in terms of consensual justice, it was time to analyze the impacts of the Institute in the Brazilian justice, in specific in the economic criminal perspective. It was noticed on the research by the Brazilian experience and the foreign literature that it is valid to affirm that it brings great celerity and great effectiveness to the justice, also bringing the possibility to the defendants to repair the property that are mostly public funds that has suffered damage. Here we can see that 302 of the 1,028 agreements offered in the year of 2020 were done in the economic criminal area. But we cannot say one side without seeing the other. When willing to make a non-persecution agreement, the accused agrees to break with several rights listed in the Federal Constitution and basic principles of the protection of human person in the process, including the non-self-incrimination, the right to the adversary, also known as the contradictory, and the full defense, and especially the right to subject to the due process of law, as known as also the full trial, once the agreement is known also as a known process. Nevertheless, the context of economic criminal law, the agreements are interesting for justice. Once through them, it's possible to repair the property that suffered damage, whether public or not. So, arriving to the conclusion, according to Habermas' theory and the observation of consensus spaces, it is necessary that the agreement be made in a way that does not place the defendant in an extreme unequal position to his judge. Once it's known that the most equal the parties are in terms of position of power, the better the solution of the conflict is. When the protection of rights is maintained, the consensus environment becomes adequate, making non-process the agreement a possible form of conflict resolution and repairing of the damage. So that was it. I hope everything was okay, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Flora. Thank you so much. Congratulations for your research.
Thank you.
Again, I would like to ask to Maria to start, please, Maria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Flora, for your presentation.
Thank
It's
you.
interesting to be aware of these aspects of the criminal law and to understand that in this situation it's important the protect of rights and the conflict resolution. So thank you very much. I have no questions for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Flora, I would like to, you spoke about Habermas. I'm a philosopher, so I was curious about that. And we know that in the ideas, in the theory of Habermas, the people who are involved in this kind of process of dialogue needs to be the same kind of power, a kind of equality of power. The question is, who are the people that are involved in this kind of process you described to us? Who are the profile of these people? Is people against enterprise, or are enterprise against them? Who are the agents of this system?
That's a great question. The agents are the criminals that committed a crime versus we don't have a English word for the Ministério Público, but it's always the criminal versus the Ministério Público. The Ministério Público is going to offer the agreement for the party, and the party can or cannot accept it, and will always be supported by an attorney to help the process, to make the agreement, to make I'm sorry, I forgot the word, but clauses.
Okay, so the Ministério Público is a kind of mediator of this process.
The Ministério Público will offer the agreement always.
Okay.
The attorney of the criminal can suggest it, but it is going to suggest it to the Ministério Público, and the Ministério Público is going to make it the real offer. It's always coming to the from the Ministério Público to the criminal.
The criminals. Okay, thank you so much, Flora. Congratulations. Thank you so much. The next one will be Daniele Vital Ortiz. The supervisor is Patricia Eliane da Rosa Sardeto. And the title of this research is the General Data Protection Law and its effective implementation in micro and small company. So Daniele, thank you so much for your presence here, and you are with the word.
Thank you, Mr. Oliveira. I'll be sharing my screen right now. Just a second. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, it's okay. If you open, okay, perfect. It's okay.
Okay. Before anything, I would like to thank the institution for the nomination, for the selection. And without further ado, let's get into it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniele Ortiz. I'm a student in the 8th semester of the law school at PUCPR Londrina campus. And this is my PIBIC presentation on the General Data Protection Law and its effective implementation in micro and small companies. I had as my advisor, Professor Patricia Eliane da Rosa Sardeto. So, at first, we need to establish the context in which the research takes place. The Brazilian General Data Protection Law was published in 2018 with a 2-year period to start its validity. As such, in between numerous changes and obstacles, it entered into force on September 18th last year without any warning. However, without its administrative sanctions, which was dated to go into effect only on August 1st this year. And so it did, even though the country was not even close to being ready for its arrival. With that said, we established the following goals for the research. we wanted to delineate the concepts of small and micro enterprises, as well as personal data processing and compliance. We also wanted to raise a survey of the number of small and micro companies in the city of Londrina and their type of businesses developed based on public data, as well as proposing a methodology of classifying companies according to the type of businesses or even capital in order to enable the personalized analysis of a program of compliance in data protection with the reality of each distinction. And also we wanted to offer solutions packages for compliance with the general data protection law to the target audience of the research. As for materials and method, we chose to go with the systemic method by Maturana and Varela. And with that, alongside with Sebrae's assistance in gathering public data on the enterprises, documentary and bibliographic research, content acquired in specialist courses, and an internship experience in this matter, we were able to accomplish most of our goals. Now, about the internship experience, there I was able to get direct contact with the practical part of it all through data mapping, making of privacy documents, risk analysis of contracts, and GDPR consultancies. Moving on to the results, here we have a summary of the concepts we established early on, which are micro companies, small companies, data processing, compliance. Here, with Sebrae's assistance, we are able to get a total of small companies in the city of Londrina to better understand the environment. And here in Londrina, we have a total of 90,030 small companies. Now, a point which we focus a lot of our attention on was the difficulties in adapting to GDPR. Here you can see that some of the studies show that only 4% of small and medium-sized companies meet 100% of the requirements of the law. The survey also showed that 16% of the respondents did not even know what the GDPR is all about. Also, we were able to pinpoint the main challenges for the companies. So here you can see that the main challenges were time, because once the law is already in force, it is already punishable. Investment, because it's a costly and complex process. Data subject service, because it requires support for requests from holders about the status of their data, updates, deletion, etc. Adaptability, because it's imperative to seek a scalable methodology, as there are still regulatory gaps to be completed by the ANPD. An important discovery, was the decision made a couple of months ago on a lawsuit in which the plaintiff asked to consider as inputs the expenses proven by the project of GDPR and to determine the compensation amounts eventually paid. To that, the Fourth Court of Campo Grande, Mato Grosso do Sul, decided in their favor, creating an unprecedented decision which can change the whole environment and the whole scenario for the companies to comply, in which it says, in the case of mandatory investments, including under penalty of application of sanctions to the violator is the rules of said law. I estimate that the cost correspondence should be classified as inputs. Consequently, we were able to create a minimal package of instructions so that the micro and small companies can also comply to the GDPR without struggling so hard. And with that, they can be more certain that they won't get fined or disobey the law, which is following these steps. They need to train and aware and create a awareness culture in their companies. They need to select a data protection officer, do a data mapping of their company, propose adjustments to data flaws find in the data mapping. They need to give document analysis and adjustment proposal, write specific documents of privacy and data protection, create information security strategies, create checklists to accompany the results and the progress, and monitor after the adaptation process, which means it's a process that it's always changing and needs to be followed through constantly. It's not a one-time thing process, it's a continuous process. Finally, with the administrative sanctions coming into force, unraveling in a DDPL project has never been so necessary, even if in the form of a minimal package, having it done in-house with consulting by service. So it is extremely necessary. Note that the pièce de résistance here is adequacy is essential, and small business cannot be left behind. And lastly, to summarize the essence and motive to the whole research, I'd like to cite one of the main authors we as digital law students learned to idolize early on, Zygmunt Bauman, as he once said that progress has turned itself into a kind of endless and uninterrupted chair dance in which one single moment of inattention results in irreversible defeat and irrevocable exclusion. So with that, I would like to thank you all for your time and attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniele. Very interesting. So Maria, could you start again?
Thank you very much. It's a very interesting subject in your presentation. It's very important that data protection is enforced by the companies. So as far as I know, I don't know if your minimal package that you presented in this session is nowadays working in any company. Can you explain this?
Yes, of course. We still don't have a practical use of the minimal package because the research is theoretical, but we have plans, me and my advisor, to create a concrete package. We have a concrete package, we still don't have put it into practice, but we have plans and goals to give it to the community and in some way. So we have plans to making it a concrete offer for the companies in Londrina, for the community.
So congratulations, because this is a special issue. So we have a lot of data, our data in hands of a lot of companies. So it's interesting that your work will be, this subject will be working in companies to protect our data. So thank you, congratulations for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. I agree with you, of course, about the importance of this research and the problem of data today. Daniele, I would like just a small question. I would like to understand the relationship between the compliance roles and the GDPL, or this minimal package. The minimal package is part of the roles of the compliance, or is the contrary? What is the relationship between this system of compliance that are now very, I don't know, it's a strong preoccupation of the small companies, even the big companies. Your research is, which is the connection with the compliance roles? Just to be, because sorry about the, how can I say the question? I'm not of your how can I say, of law, or I'm philosopher, so for me just a curiosity. Sorry.
It's a great question. Thank you. So the law in Brazil, it's a little bit too how you say, it's too superficial at this point. The ANPD now, which is the Legislation Institute, they are coming up with more specific rules for the small and medium-sized companies. So for now, we don't have specific rules for them. So when you have a lot of superficial rules that all types of companies need to comply, you create a vulnerability for small companies because they don't have the same capital as big and large companies. Just so you can have a notion, GDPR projects nowadays, for a small to medium-sized company, it's costing around 10 to 50,000 reais. And small and micro companies and entrepreneurs do not have that capital and do not have the instructions because the law is kind of superficial. So lawyers' office and specialists in the matter are now coming up with these packages and offering these solutions, this GDPR projects for all types of companies, but without specific rules made by the ANPD, they are stealing a lot of vulnerability. So that is why we're coming up with minimal packages so that the small companies can comply without being so expensive. And because if they do not, they will get fined, and the fines are up to 50 million reais nowadays. That is the roof of the fines. So they need to comply, but they can't if it's too costly. So that is why we're working on minimal packages and trying to make it concrete so that we can offer to small companies.
Great, thank you, Danielle. Very, very nice. Let's go to the next step. Is with Cindy Marques Inuye. I'm not sure if it's correct to pronounce. The supervisor is Patrícia Eliane da Rosa Sardeto as well. And the title is Challenges, Impact, and Potentialities of the Use of Artificial Intelligence in the Judiciary. So, Cindy, you have the word.
Hi.
Hi.
Hope you can hear me well. I'm going to start sharing my content here with you in just a moment. There you go. So I would like to thank PUC for this opportunity for selecting me to do this presentation. And so today I'm going to present my research called Challenges, Impacts, and Potentialities of the Use of Artificial Intelligence in the Judiciary. According to Klaus Schwab, the modern society lives the fourth industrial revolution, which is characterized by small sensors, mobile internet, artificial intelligence, hereinafter called AI, and machine learning. The junction between AI and the Brazilian judiciary is the focus of this research. In regards to the method, it was used a systemic method proposed by Maturana and Varela. Firstly, the research focused on the concepts of AI and machine learning. Secondly, it talked about how AI is being used on the Brazilian judiciary. On the third part, it has brought the challenges, impacts, and potentialities of AI in courts. And finally, it showed new possible niches for this technology. As claimed by Fabiano Peixoto and Roberto da Silva, there is no agreement towards the concept of AI. On the overall, it consists in a system that acts to replicate human intelligence. According to the authors, it could also be described as an intelligence system that rationalizes and decides in order to solve a problem, learning by each new situation that it is presented to. It's important to mention that AI can be split in two different categories, the strong and the weak AI. The weak focuses on a particular task, whereas the strong AI is suited for multiple situations. The latter still doesn't exist. Therefore, AI presented in science fiction movies, for example, it still doesn't need to be appreciated. One of AI's subfields is machine learning, It is marked by the presence of an algorithm instead of a program. In other words, it's the machine's ability of self-learning. But what is an algorithm? The algorithms are responsible for establishing a sequence of operations to be followed. For this, data is given to the machines with the name of inputs, and the machine will produce outputs, whether being decisions or prediction of future data. The more data is given to the machine, the more precise it will be. When there is a big volume of data, or big data, the dynamic is called deep learning, and where the computer will be able to solve problems in a more complex way, usually making it hard for humans to trace which path it has taken. On the report of Fernando Bragança et al., one of the functions of AI in Brazilian courts is the classification of petitions. That is the case of the main national project called Victor, which takes place in the Supreme Court of Brazil. It verifies if a legal case can be classified as a general repercussion theme to be appreciated by the court. And it was proven that it could do in 5 seconds what a person would need 3 hours to do. On a national scale, there are multiple AI projects developed and in development is spread over more than 30 Brazilian tribunals. Some of them have more than one project in order to use it for different purposes. AI's application in Brazilian courts also revolves around optimization in attendance to lawyers and the public, online palm, chat box, draft suggestion, prescription indication, extraction of judgment data, and judgment of admissibility of appeals. Here we can see a table with all the AI projects that are taking place on Brazilian tribunals today. The first challenge was approached in Daniel Boink and Alexandre da Rosa studies. In this regard, an undetected bias could reinforce itself and also decrease the quality of the petitions by not taking into account the singularities of each case, without mentioning a bigger shrink of minority legal scholarships. Another challenge is the accountability in case of an offense. In this matter, Professor Caitlin Sampaio alleges that there is a professional revising them. Nonetheless, one can pledge the right to a grievance against that decision and hold the state accountable. But facing an autonomous system, the responsibility could also lie upon those who developed the model. The last challenge would be fragmentation, a problem widely discussed during the implementation of electronic court process in Brazil. Many critics refer to the bureaucratization and the lack of communication between systems. On the other hand, the National Council of Justice in Brazil published that currently there is one legal process for every 3 Brazilians. Such a demand, combined with deadlines, limited budgets, and quality standards, inevitably leads judges to cognitive failures. With the help of AI, it is possible to reallocate human resources in an efficient way, leaving the repetitive tasks for machines and the multitask activities for humans. Thus, the impacts orbit around less repetitive tasks, reallocation of human resources, and more accuracy. Considering the aforementioned scenario, celerity, productivity, and efficacy compose the set of potentialities for these technologies. And some possible future niches for AI in Brazilian courts will be the classification of legal processes into urgency scales, the identification of inept petitions, errors in sentences, and frauds. The legal community has been trying to modernize itself, and AI can be a tool to support this transformation by bringing the judiciary closer to its citizens. All the dynamics so far discussed seeks to broaden the debate around the topic. After all, it is only with the social engagement that a more promising future for society can be expected. Again, I would like to thank PUC for this opportunity, also the professors who evaluated my work, the ones watching this presentation right now, and especially my advisor, Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Very, very nice. Let's hear something about from Maria again. To start, Maria.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your good presentation. It's interesting in this case to know about the learning machine and all these possibilities, because it's a science that is increasing. It's interesting in all type of science, not only in science, but also in all fields of research. So respect to Spain, UDC is very slow in some situation. So these techniques can improve and speed up the process. So do you think in Brazilian is the same situation, and the learning machine can improve this slow process that UDC can has actually, or what do you think about the improving this applying these techniques to the UDC?
Yes, I do believe that the application of AI and machine learning in Brazilian judiciary can also decrease the time lapse that it takes to a process in here. One of the examples is that I think that Victor, the main national project taking place here in Brazil right now, that it can do in 5 seconds what a person needs 3 hours to do. So of course that the time lapse will be shortened with the use of this technology. And also more than that, I think that the machines will help to make humans be focused on the tasks that they are better at. So it will be more efficient in this way. Sorry, I can hear you right now.
Okay, so it's a reality that the big data is more and more important. So it's interesting your work. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you, Maria. Cindy, just a question as well. I was wondering what you think about your colleagues or the students that are finishing the course of law today. They are prepared to use this kind of technology in a country like us, like our, because you know we are the education process is very, very complicated. We don't have infrastructure, good infrastructure. So what do you think about your colleagues? If you think about the students that are finishing the law course today, do you believe they are, I don't know, they have capacity to use with responsibility and critical sense this system?
So about my colleagues at PUC, for example, we have the possibility of taking a course with Professor Pratisha, and it is about the use of new technologies within the law field. So this is very good for us to understand a little bit more about what's going on right now in our area. But I do believe that our practical work will help us even more if we get more in touch with this kind of technologies in order to use it in our benefit. But also AI can be a complicated thing even for those who are already used to that. And it also can be too complicated to understand how it achieved a certain decision. So it will be a challenge for all of us, and not only the ones in the law field, to be able to trace and to identify which paths the machines is taken. For example, in case it is with a bias or a skewed machine. So this is it.
Thank you so much. I believe the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next presentation. So it's Sabrina Tiemi Moraes Sato. The supervisor is Ronei Juan Daros, I'm sure. Methods in feline personality assessment, a scoping review. So Sabrina, you have the word.
I will share my screen and present. So you guys can see only my presentation, or you can see also the Zoom.
Your presentation is all right.
Yeah, okay, thanks. I can start.
Yes, please.
So first, I would like to say that I'm thankful to be here presenting my scientific initiation project entitled Methods in Feline Personality Assessment, a scoping review, under guidance of the professor who conducts. So, we observed one increase in animal personality research, aiming to improve animal management and welfare, not only in veterinary hospitals, but also in farms. Personality or temperament is defined as individual behavior patterns through time and context. Although the assessment of feline personality has been described previously, there is no literature focused on reporting the method of the personality assessment. But why we choose a scoping review? And what is a scoping review? So when we found this gap in the scientific knowledge, we saw an opportunity to apply a scoping review. And the scoping review purpose is to map and summarize existence evidence, to analyze and find possible gaps in literature, terms, context, and application. And recent has been used in human medicine to try to reduce the gap between the academic research and the application. So by this, we decided and made our scientific initiation. The aim of this scoping review is to summarize and report methodologies among the assessment of personality in domestic cats described in literature. So, as a systematic review, the scoping review has a protocol. The one used for this project were adapted from the Briggs Manual for Evidence Synthesis and PRISMA SRC 2020 for scoping reviews. Our main research questions were: which are the methods described in scientific literature for measuring feline personality? Our inclusion criteria were articles published in English that assess feline personality, and the exclusion criteria were articles that did not realize the assets of feline personality. The information sources used for this review were the databases Web of Science and Scopus. The search were made using predetermined search strings made for each electronic database. The principal keywords used were feline or cats, temperament or personality, assess or test. After the searching the database, we transferred the archives to Mendeley Desktop, one reference manager, and via Mendeley, we excluded the duplicated articles. So here is a flow diagram where is described all this process of finding and selecting the articles included in this review. We found initially 755 articles, and in the end, only 22 articles were included in our review. The data extraction of the selected articles and the compilation of the information found were made via electronic sheet spreads. As results, we could find that the articles published reporting the assessment of feline personality increased in the last decade, as represented. So here we have a word cloud representing the keywords used in the selected articles. The bigger they are, the more they appear. Personality assessment in cats, we found that has a high variability among concepts and methods. So even the concept or the nomenclature are not defined yet. As we can see in the table, the terms personality, temperament, individual differences, behavioral syndromes, coping styles were all categorized as individual behavior patterns consistent through time and context. So some articles use different nomenclatures. There is no consensus among the terminology. As other results, we found that the assessment methods of personality can be summarized into two groups: qualitative or quantitative analysis. Qualitative analysis is made by surveys, behavioral tests, and quantitative analysis were made by the direct observation of the animal and the contabilization of the behaviors presented by this animal. So we found 3 standardized protocols for feline personality assessment. One of them is the Feline 5 model, And this one is based in the Big Five model of human personality, and the assessment of feline personality is made via survey. And the owner of the animal is the one that gives all the answers. The feline temperament profile, some tests were realized to see the temperament of the cats. Here we have the felinality PM, that is protocol proposed by the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And this one is usually used with one website that is called Meet or Match, that aims to combine the cats to his future owner to avoid abandonment and other problems. But there is no agreement among the personality traits or dimensions used to categorize the animal personality in this protocol. So, the protocols of personality assessment reported in the selected articles were surveys directed to the owner of the animal, direct observation of cat behavior that consisted in watching videos or even observe the animal and contabilize some patterns in behavior and determined behaviors. Here, where we have the FFM, is the feline 5 model. So 22% of the 22 articles used the feline 5 model. The FTP is the feline temperament profile, used in 18.2%, and the felinality also 18.2%. So, as final remarks, we could conclude that there are 3 validated protocols for the assessment of personality in domestic cats, but inconsistencies were found in nomenclature methodology used to evaluate and describe the feline personality or temperament, as described before. And this terminology mismatch among concept and personality traits. So, further research and studies considering the evaluation and validation of methods of assessment of personality in domestic cats, as well as a consensus among the terminology used to describe his behavior patterns through time are needed. So this was my presentation, in case someone has to have some questions.
Thank you, Sabrina. As you know, we are very strictly with time, so you used more than 10 minutes. So thank you for your presentation, and we go directly to the other presentation because we are a little late.
I pass so much. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think your connection is not good as well, so we are a little delayed your speech. So sorry, but congratulations. It's very interesting your research, and I know that you have a very good research, and results are very interesting as well. Congratulations. So the next one is Vinícius Cerqueira Silva. Who is the supervisor is Patrícia Eliane da Rosa Sardeto, machine learning and its operation. So Vinicius, the word with you, and I would like to ask you to be strictly with the time. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Vinicius, and my research is machine learning and its operation. My advisor is the Professor Dr. Patrícia Eliane da Rosa Sardeto. So let's go. The use of artificial intelligence has already reshaped all fields of society. Initially, with the alignment capacity was used mostly to perform simple activities. But with the advance in the development of artificial intelligence and machine learning, it is already possible to apply these technologies with fields previously considered complex and exclusively human function, such as law. So it's been crucial that the legal professional has a minimum understanding of the concept of AI and ML. As said by Schwab in his book, Fourth Industrial Revolution, AI and ML has already begun to a revolution to everything we know and the way we deal with simple to advanced things. Here we have my objectives. That was delimit the scope of concept of artificial intelligence and machine learning, understand how it is work, find out possible applications of machine learning in society, and suggest possible applications in law. Here was my methods, and let's go to results. It was found with the following result that machine learning is one of the areas of artificial intelligence. But what is artificial intelligence and machine learning? Peixoto defines AI as a sub-area of computer science that make simulations of a specific process of human intelligence through computation results. And Russell defines machine learning how a camp of AI that studies forms to make computers get better performance with experience and learning. And it's also important to say the difference between the weak AI and the strong AI. The weak AI is the AI that we use nowadays. That is the AI that is present in virtual assistants like Google Assistant, Alexa from Amazon, Siri from Apple, and so on. And we have like in the weak AI, we have the chatbot, that is the chat that big companies have to make a conversation with their clients, but it's not a person, it's a robot. And we have the strong AI. That is the AI that we don't have yet, but there is a lot of studying and research about that. That is the AI that think by itself. Don't need programming to make things. Just give the strong AI data, and the AI will think by itself and make solution by itself. And AI has already transformed the legal environment around the world. As in other areas, it's used to bring and can bring even more benefits and facilities. On the other hand, it brings ethical issues to be debated. So it's great important that both law and development professional technologies work together so that the results, such as a merger and promising, and with as little risk as possible. Here we have an image that shows the artificial intelligence division. We need artificial intelligence, that is everything. We need machine learning, that is a kind of AI, and we have deep learning. I like to say, just to make a link, that AI is like a brain, and machine learning is like a part of the brain that take care of learn, and deep learning is a part of this brain that helps to learn and helps to remember things. In my conclusion, artificial intelligence and machine learning already have an important role in society. And with their increasingly joint use, the trend is their important alone, whether because of the ease that they originate in us or because of the possible inconvenience that arise. In fact, its institution must follow ethical values so that many problems as possible are avoided in its consequence. Another point to discuss is, and the study is the same as AI research and development already know that when it comes to AI, we must always be proactive and not reactive. And talk about law. Yeah, we have infinite opportunities in the AI and law. Yeah, but we need to take care, and like I said, we need to discuss about the possible problems that could have with the time. And we have like in my research, we have some basis to have a good AI. That is the verification, the validation, the security, and the control. So to make a good AI, especially in the law, we need these 4 points: verification, validation, security, and control. And to finish, I bring two examples of AI that we use in law in Brazil. That is the Victor, artificial intelligence from the Suprema Court, STF, and which is helping to classify cases of the STF. And we have the Mandamos, that is a project from the judiciary system of Roraima with UNB, University of Brasilia, that improves the classifications of horns, and there is execution using geolocation. So it's important to control these AIs to law with ethical pillars. Okay, and what's that? Here we have my reference. Thank you. I think I was happy. Oh, happy now, fast.
That's okay. Yes, 7 minutes, so we have time. Thank you, Vinicius. Maria, would you like to do some question?
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's a reality that machines are occupying some species of the currently by human. So, what is your opinion about the use of machine learning? I know that you explained 2 examples in Brazilian law, but please give me another example that you think that it will be a candidate to replace humans by machines of this artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if I got it. It's to me give some example of human. Sorry,
another one area that you think that could be replaced by machine.
Oh, okay. I think in some time all areas will be affected by machine learning. Some will be like most, some not. like machine learning is a thing that I think everything is very repetitive and don't need a critical opinion or something like that will be replaced by machine learning, because we don't need like a human brain to do it. We can see like with algorithm from recommendation that take information, take the people information and suggest things to you. That is not, it's not necessary a critical mind to do it. It's just collecting information and giving a result. I hope
Okay.
I answered.
Okay, it's complex to do some, to replace some areas completely. So
Yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much
Oh,
for your
thank you.
explanation.
Thank you, Vinicius, again. I was just wondering about your references, because there is a very big number of books about AI today, especially in English. So I advise you that it could be interesting to access these books. Especially, for instance, I was thinking about do you know this Kurt Weill, who wrote the thesis about singularity, and he believes that the machine will be more intelligent than human beings in the next years. He told us, he wrote that could be in 2045, I think. So just to appoint you that there is a big research about the future of the AI in the world. I don't know if you know these books.
I will share it. Of course, I will share it later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinicius. Congratulations. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, perfect. So the next one is Rebeca Moraes Trevisan. The advisor is Altair Rosa. Evaluation of the self-sustainability of the initiation and thermal drying system of sewage sludge treatment in small and medium station in Paraná, trough by biogas. So it's a big title. Rebecca, you have the word.
Okay, thank you very much. So my name is Rebecca. I'm a chemical engineering student, and with my supervisor, Professor Dr. Altair Rosa, we elaborated the research on the evaluation of the self-sustainability of the hygienization and thermal drying system of sewage sludge treatment in small and medium plants in Paraná through biogas. So sewage sludge is a byproduct of domestic sewage treatment plants. It's composed of water, organic matter, nutrients, and pathogenic microorganisms that we must eliminate before disposing the sludge. The sludge's drying and thermal sanitization is a necessary step for the commercialization of the sludge produced by the treatment plant, a product that nowadays Brazil has difficulty in disposing of. Currently, Paraná sanitizes the sludge by prolonged alkalinization, which is to maintain the sludge at a pH level of 12 for 30 days, which takes significant time, space, and resources. How could this process be more viable and sustainable? This is the question that motivated our research. So the general objective was to analyze whether the biogas produced in treatment plants is enough to dry and sanitize its own sewage sludge. To do that, we evaluate the energy consumption in the drying process, the average amount of biogas produced by the studied sewage treatment plants, and we compare those values to see if there is enough to the feasibility of a self-sustainable sludge drying and thermal process. 3 wastewaters were selected for the study. they have different daily sewage flow, different inhabitant numbers, a different size, and they are also geographically far apart. All the sludge and sewage data was obtained directly from SEMIC. We use a program called ProBio 1.0 to determine how much energy the biogas could produce. We use parameters from the NBR 13,969 to determine when and how the sludge is considered sanitized, and the software used for the calculations was Excel. Here I bring you a simplified flow chart of the calculations that were executed in the research. So we start by gathering data around the flow and chemical oxygen demand. That's what COT means, of each effluent treatment plant. The data was from SEMIC, as I said. Then we move on to determine the total waste production in each treatment plant. That is the sum of the grid waste and the descender waste. And then we move on to determine how much sludge is produced in each treatment plant, and that is based on the solids, total solids in the process, which is the sum of the solids in the UASB reactor and in the secondary decanter. So with that obtained, we go on to determine the sludge flow after the densifier, after the centrifuge, and after the thermal dryer. So we can know how much water needs to be removed in the dryer, and we have to match the energy to dry that sludge. Then we determine the biogas production in each UASB reactor and the energy production from that biogas, so we can know the thermal potential available. With all that gathered, we compare the thermal potential available and the energy demanded for the sludge drying in the dryer. And then we conclude whether the plant is self-sustainable or not. So here I bring you the numbers, the results. So as I said, we determined the sewage flow, the mass production, the total mass production of waste destined to each landfill, and how much sludge is produced and how to dewater it. Here we have all the numbers. And finally, the energy production. So we have the average biogas production for each plant and what is the energy potential of that biogas. So comparing those values, we have that all three studied sewage treatment plants could dry and sanitize their sludge with an energy from biogas with an average surplus of 46%. So not only could we completely sanitize the sludge, but we could also use that energy to supply the electrical lights or the air conditioner in each treatment plant. However, because the volume of water to be evaporated in the dryer and consequently the energetic demand to dry the sludge up to a solids ratio of 80%, which is suggested by the NBR it must be in a ratio of 80%, is ideal under typical conditions and average values found in Brazilian literature for treatment plants of all sizes. So the results are theoretically comproved, but in practice, there could always be a few experiments that we could make, or we could gather data from each treatment plant and make a practical test. This may have led to an underestimation of energy needed to meet the demand of the thermal dryer, but because we have an average surplus that is so high of 46%, we are sure that just the biogas could totally sanitize the sludge. So here are my references and my acknowledgements. I'd like to thank my professor, Altair Rosa, PUCPR, and Fundação Araucária for founding this project.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's very, very interesting. Maria, could you start again?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation, Rebecca. It's an interesting issue in your presentation because it's related to the sustainable development goals that are nowadays very important. So even though when human generate large amount of waste, so we have to know how to eliminate in a sustainable way. So it's an interesting work that you research in this presentation. So I show in your presentation that in Paraná you have, I think, these three
treatment plants. They are in Paraná, yes.
Are in Paraná. So I observed that in Paraná is you have a good method for convert this waste in a sustainable product, because you produce the biogas. So it's interesting. So it's very interesting. So I don't know if in the other states of Brazil is the same. Is the same in the other states?
They still use the prolonged alkalinization process, which is not so efficient as drying it with energy from the biogas.
So it's interesting because you can, from this state, other states can emit or adopt this technique. So it's very interesting. So thank you for your presentation and congratulations. It's all for me.
Perfect, Maria. Rebecca, just a question as well. Do you know energy is a big problem in the sense of the problem of the global warming? And I would like to hear something about this. How can you relate it, your research that is very, very impressive. There is a lot of numbers and good results with this problem of global warming and the problem of energy in our world, in our times. Do you have something to say about that?
Yes. By doing this, we could diminish the energy that we have to buy from companies that use whether like water, hydroelectrica energy or nuclear energy. So we can reduce a big fraction of the demanded energy in treatment plants by using this sustainable alternative.
Perfect. I completely agree. Thank you so much and congratulations. I hope your research could help people to discover more about these possibilities. Thank you so much, and congratulations to my friend Altair as well. Thank you. The next and the last one, last but not least, is Anaí Rota Makinski. The supervisor is Gilberto Reynoso Meza. Graphical user interface for evolutionary multi-objective algorithms. So, Anaí, please take your place.
Hi, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Do you see my screen?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. So Good morning. My name is Elaine Mashinsky, and my professor is Gilberto Meza. And today I'm going to talk about graphical user interface for evolutionary multi-objective algorithms. So while working on everyday tasks, engineers often find themselves stuck in a dead end because they have a problem to solve that requires the fulfillment of several conflicting objectives. So in order to solve this issue, the multi-objective optimization design procedure was designed and developed using the MATLAB platform and transferred to Python environment previously to improve its reachability and usability. So the multi-objective optimization design procedure is a three-step process developed in MATLAB platform that optimizes all design objectives simultaneously while analyzing the trade-offs between the available options. So the first step is the multi-objective problem and its establishment. The second step is the multi-objective optimization. And finally, the third step is the multi-criteria decision-making. So for this project, the main objective was to develop a graphical user interface for a previously coded multi-objective evolutionary algorithm for engineering in order to improve their usability in an open platform. And for that, these specific objectives were defined to implement available tools in Python in order to develop user-free tools and methodologies for engineering design and testing in engineering design benchmarks in order to evaluate their deployment state. So for the methodology, it started with the study of the theory behind the concept of data visualization and search codes. Then the previously moved procedure code was adapted to attain the established objectives. After that, the multi-criteria decision-making script was implemented in Python platform, and finally, the search algorithm was developed. So for the multi-criteria decision-making script, it was made to facilitate the user's final decision with a clean and interactive organization. It works as a better way of visualizing specific data. So the first section of the algorithm is responsible for introducing the imports used, followed by the characteristics of the results visualization and how the user may interact with them. Then the algorithm describes the style of the graphs that will be displayed once the script is activated, detailing the size, form, colors, and add-ons that it may include. Lastly, the connection with the other moved scripts take place while the final graph is shaped in order to display according to the obtained results. Then the search script was developed to organize all the other files to improve the user experience. So it briefly explains what the archive do and offers to the directory path that leads to each one of them. The chosen Python library to operate this section was the OS module because it provides a quick way of finding archives located in a specific folder. The code starts with the import of specified modules and the output of several lines describing each of the available options and what to expect from them. During this process, each script is associated with a number to facilitate the identification of the chosen one. The next session is entirely devoted to the person's choice, because another message is displayed on the screen asking the user to pick a number from 1 to 5 in order to select the desired algorithm to open. After the chosen number gets typed and sent, it's time for the program to interpret the given input and provide a proper output. For such purpose, a sequence of conditional items is formed with the Python's operators if, elif, and else correspondingly. They work in a sequence while comparing the input stated before, stored within the variable value, to the one of the expected numbers that it could represent. So for the results, the first outcome is expected to generate a window with one graph and 300 possible answers to the multi-objective problem. Then a second window should appear with 3 interactive graphs indicating the outcome for the multi-criteria decision-making code. It's interactive because by selecting a possible answer that is represented in the graph by a small turquoise circle, the other two graphs should highlight its corresponding circle. Finally, the script is concluded with the display of three matrices of distinct utilized Paretos. So parent TF represents the Pareto front, parent represents the Pareto set, and parent PM represents the optimal Pareto. Subsequently, the second outcome surrounds the search process and briefly explains what the archives do and offers the directory path that leads to each one of them. If the user types a number between 1 and 5, the right path to the respective code should appear on the screen. If the user
I'm not sure if only me or there is a problem with Anaí.
I think it's a problem with her.
Yes.
Yes, because I can't hear.
Yes, thank you. So, Anaí, are you there? Yes, thank you, Stacy. Let's wait just a minute. I think she is in the room. Oh, yes, not more. No more.
She probably fall. We can see if she returns in.
Just a minute.
Yes, I'm trying to reach her in order to ask to make inquiries about what's happening with her. Yes.
Thank you, Gilberto.
Yeah.
She's coming, Anaí.
I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened
Okay.
with my computer.
There you go. Don't worry.
Okay,
Please finish your presentation.
yes, of course. And so I was saying that if the user types a number between 1 to 5 and the right path to the respective code should appear on the screen. But if the user fails to do so and inserts a number outside of the established range, such as 6, an error message should appear informing that the number is invalid. So for final considerations, the first analysis of the results was very satisfactory. Both possible scenarios were executed well and presented cohesive results that can be easily interpreted by the user. The scripts work well in sync with no compilation errors. After a second approach to the first pass output, some difference to the original MATLAB file were spotted surrounding the multi-criteria decision-making graphs. But numerous tests were made, but the problem could not be solved in time. So the results are very similar, but not the exact same as the original version. But as it was previously evidenced, all the proposed requirements stated in the objective session were fulfilled. Therefore, it is safe to conclude that the research outcome was very satisfactory. So thank you so much for the attention. I'm so sorry for the computer, and I will answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Anaí. No, don't worry. It happens. Maria?
Thank you very much, Anaí, for your presentation. It's a good work. It's a reality that algorithms are increasingly being used in day-to-day science. So I understand that this platform that you are working is an open platform.
Yes.
So it's interesting because it's difficult to find open utilities these days. So congratulations, and I hope that your work will continue in this way. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much.
And could you explain in a few words the benefits or the utility of this process? It was not clear for me, sorry. It's not your fault, it's my fault. So just to make more clear, what is the benefit of this kind of platform? How can we use in our I don't know, in our days?
Sure, of course. So this algorithm is designed to facilitate the life of, the daily life of engineers. So, and daily they have multiple problems that need to be solved, but in order to solve one of them, there are multiple trade-offs. So this algorithm should facilitate this issue by minimizing the trade-offs and making them two trade-offs.
Sorry.
Transforming them into two trade-offs, so it can be easier for the engineering to decide which path is better to resolve the initial issue, like the multi-objective problem. So minimizes the whole spectrum of the problem to be easier to solve.
Perfect, thank you. It's very, very clear now. Your course is engineering?
Yes, I'm biomedical engineering.
Biomedical.
This research is from other engineering that I don't really know the name in English.
Okay, thank you. And I thank you so much. I would like to say that I'm very impressed with the high quality of your research, you all, and I think we haven't had today just a small part of the very important and strong research that the students of PUC Paraná have been made during this last year. So thank you for all, and I would like to ask to Maria to say something just to finish our session. And I would like to say that Maria was a great pleasure to stay here with you, to be here with you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to me to stay with you and to be part of this banner. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much. So congratulations to all, and see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
Você que está me escutando, é mesmo com você que estou falando agora. Você que pensa que é bem não pensar em ninguém e que o amor tem hora. Preste atenção, meu ouvinte, o negócio é o seguinte, a coisa não demora. Então, pra que não dar o que é melhor em você? que não dar o que é melhor em você?